recording in 3, 2, 1, record.
Welcome to the weekly episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins, and let's drop in.
Welcome, freelancers, to a very special episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. This is episode 94, if you can believe it. We've been doing this for 94 episodes. That's a really long time. Coming up on episode 100 pretty soon. How are you, child? You surprised me.
About 8 more minutes because there's a movie.
Oh,
Sure, can you go ask your mom?
Sit down,
Thanks,
you log
buddy.
onto a game, you're ready, you got chips on the side, you got the drink ready, and a little one goes in your ear and says,
Nope.
Dad, what are you... You're like, oh.
They're adorable.
Yeah,
Go
like
talk to your mother. Go talk to your mother.
having
Yeah.
kids is so hard.
Oh, it's not that hard. It's super awesome. It's super
I mean, it's
rewarding.
so
Kids are great.
difficult. No, so that was one of my littles apparently, who's not yet done with whatever show he was watching to wind down for the day. So nice introduction of my middle son, Carter. So hey, this is episode 94, and it's special now because it's the first time Carter has been on the episode for us. That's really exciting for everyone that got to see him on our live. Since we are recording live on Mixer, we are also live on YouTube. For those of you who want to check us out there, you can do that. This will always be podcast focused, so we'll try to keep all of our visual gags to a minimum. And it's July 9th. It has been 144 days since the game is launched through Origin Access Premier. That's a really long time. Xbox, PC players, you guys have all had it. Guys and girls have all had it for 137 days. And it's been about a month since EA Play 2019.
Has it been that long?
It has
Time
been
kinda
a
flies.
month. It goes by really fast. I think it's probably going really slow for PlayStation and Xbox owners because there have not been any updates for probably... When was the last time, JD, you guys would have seen an update? It would have been one of the patches that got pushed out, but I don't think it added any new content.
No.
So there's like nothing for you guys to get excited about, is there?
I mean, not really. I think the last time they put out any kind of patch was last week, and there's no new content. Apparently there's stuff in the patch that is preparing the game for Cataclysm content, and that's awesome. But right now we still only have 4 strongholds. We only have the legendary missions, which I don't know if there's something busted with mine. Maybe I just don't understand it right, but you can only, from what I can tell over the last couple of days, you can only do the legendary mission like once.
Were you trying to launch it right after you completed it again?
No.
So you went back to the fort and tried to launch it?
I would go back to the fort, and then I would do another. Well, I ended up doing like a string of random strongholds, and then when I go to legendary mission, there's a lock symbol next to it. So I don't know if maybe like the order of how I did things is wrong. Because I would if it's just going from if you click play another mission at any point in time, if it's constantly locked. But I only seem to be able to play the legendary missions once per day, which is kind of a bummer, especially since you had that hot tip last week of like earning 300 standing, 100 for each of the factions with the Fortress of Dawn mission, which actually did pop up between last episode that we all recorded together, 92, and today. So
yeah, I don't know. I've never had that issue where I wasn't able to go in again and do a legendary mission. Devon, have you had that happen to you at all?
No, it's always said more legendary missions. I don't know.
Oh,
That's
really
strange.
weird. Well, hopefully on today's episode of 94, we'll be able to talk to all you console players who are waiting for new content to drop, all the cool stuff that is actually coming into the Cataclysm patch that will hopefully, I think we're guessing that the Cataclysm itself is probably going to drop at the beginning of August sometime. We might get those 2 weeks of pre-events maybe at the end of July, but I mean this is all just a wild guess on our part. We have no insider knowledge according to that. This is just kind of like, well, it's been long enough. I think it's about time this thing comes out, because currently with the updates that they put out on the PTS, it seems like it's very close to being able to go live. I'm sure that there's still some things that they need to be tweaking and fixing before it's ready to go, but we can discuss a lot of that
When do you
as
think,
we talk
like
about
the
what's
last
happening.
2 weeks, or so you think it's gonna start what, the 22nd of this month? The 2 weeks.
So I don't know if it's going to start on the 22nd, but I have a feeling that whether it's the 22nd or the 29th, that first week of pre-events will start at the end of this month.
Mhm.
Then we'll have the 2 weeks, and then we'll have the 4 weeks or the 6
6
weeks
weeks.
of the Cataclysm going live. So I'm guessing the bulk of the Cataclysm is going to be all of August, and the pre-stuff is going to happen here in July. I'm hoping that's the case, because if we have to wait any longer, that is a very, very long time to wait for a live service game for new content to drop. I know we did have the Stronghold, but I don't think that's enough to hold console players or PC players over for as long as we've been waiting.
Well, like let's look at it from a console player point of view for a second. And we heard about this this Cataclysm content back in the end of May, because we had heard about it before we went to EA Play, right?
I think we heard about it like right after the game launched. That was part of the roadmap. So we've known about it since February.
Okay. Well, I mean, like that the Cataclysm
When they got
content
delayed.
was gonna become, like basically like when we heard about the PTS.
It
and
was
stuff,
the week before EA Play.
That was the week before EA Play. So basically, since the beginning of June. Now,
so-
I know that not everybody is in the same boat as me. Not everybody is a teacher. I know that not every school district in
I didn't
the
know you were a
country-
teacher.
That's sarcasm.
I know that not every school district in the country.
That just slipped by me.
I know that not every school district in the country follows the same, academic calendar. But for me, like summer is like gaming time. Like basically, like I don't have a lot of other things to do. Especially right now, I'm really sick. I got to keep myself quarantined. And like I'm spending a lot of time in my house. I'm just, busting out the Anthem. I'm going for gold and all that. School starts up for me in first week of August, like first or second week of August. And so like to hear about something first week of June, and then on console have nothing for the next month and a half, nearly 2 months. Like even if we're lucky, we get the pre-Cataclysm content the last 2 weeks of July. If we're unlucky, it starts the pre-Cataclysm content will come in August. Either way, I know we want this stuff to come out when it's done, when it's ready, but it's just kind of killing me, especially when you guys on the PTS get to play it. You guys get to experience some of it. You guys get to have more to your game.
It's true.
And
Well, I
if
mean,
you're on console, it kind of feels right now, at least to me, I've had the thought that I feel like I made the wrong choice in playing on console.
well, I mean, you
I
did. I
regret
mean,
it.
there's no doubt about that you made the wrong choice. That's a given. Because PC is the place to play anyway. So but I also don't want people to think like, well, I'm missing out because I don't have access to the PTS. The PTS it's fine, but it's also not complete. It's also not going to carry over to our main freelancers whenever the Cataclysm goes live, because then the PTS is going to go away. It's not going to be something that's active all the time. So as much as I understand that it's like, hey, you guys have something that we don't, I don't consider it like, hey, this is new content that I have. This is very much like, okay, let's test this. So when it becomes new content, it's ready to go live.
Yeah, but I'm still sitting at the table looking at the menu, waiting for my food to show up. Meanwhile, you guys at the table next to me,
We're
chewing
taste
on
testing.
appetizers.
Sometimes it's poo,
Okay.
and other
Like,
times
the
it's really
cooker's
good
going, hey, is
food.
this raw? Are you going to get salmonella for this? Will you test this? So yeah, I'll test it so JD knows that his food is cooked. I mean, and like I said, I do get that feeling that, because I've talked to a lot of people on Twitter today, and they have the same feeling. Like, when is it coming? Console players are waiting, and I completely I have empathy that you guys have not had anything for the longest time, and that sucks. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Live service game, you guys should have had something long before this. And there's no way around that. I mean, we understand that, you know what? It's been a really long time since we've had content. I think right now, just because of the way the game launched, the timetable that they had is very much like, we have to put this out and it has to work.
Yep.
Because if Cataclysm does not work when it launches, there's no recovering from that. I mean, this has to work. They have to go into the incubator. They have to have people testing this to make sure the bugs are worked out, to making sure loot drops at the right rate, to make sure that, hey, you can't, crash the game if you accidentally shoot this, grab it right here. This has to work for them. So if they're going to save it for a little bit longer to make sure that when you guys all get it, that it's almost perfect, or at least does not crash PlayStation 4s, and blue screen them, then I understand why they're waiting. Because that would be the worst case scenario if this releases and it releases in a state where people are like, there's no reason to ever come back to this game, because if this is how the first update's going to go, then you know what, uninstall, delete file, throw your computer in the trash can, and that's that. I mean, this has to work when it gets released, and this is the way that they're going to do it, so that when you get it, JD, it's like, hey, and that sucks. I mean, I'm not saying that, you have to live with this.
I understand. Like, if we were in the same boat before Anthem came out, this game needed to be good. There was already a lot of negative press leading up to it. I mean, we've been doing this for the last 2 years. We know about how people have been negative about the game well before we even really had much to say about it, or really much to know about it. It needs to be in such a state that it'll earn itself some level of immunity against the negativity that is sure to follow, because at this point it's just hate EA, hate Anthem, bandwagon stuff that you see on the internet. That being said, like, something to nibble on, even just a very wide range of a timetable or something, because right now we're guessing as to when it's going to be. We know how long, we know roughly how long the Cataclysm is going to last, and it's going to be preceded by like 1 to 2 weeks of pre-Cataclysm content. But I don't know if it's coming out this month officially. I don't know if it's coming out next month officially. I would hope it's coming out next month officially. And I agree that they need to have something, that whatever they put out needs to be in a really good state. But right now, the people on consoles are left in the same state of frustration and annoyance that we were at the end of May.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a content drought right now.
Yeah, and I completely understand that, but also I'm like, well, even though it is a PTS, it's like I don't feel like there's no sense of progression in a PTS. There's no sense of, for me, it's like I'm not gaining anything other than knowing that the feedback that we are going to give is actually going to make the game better. There's no progression. The story isn't all there, so we're not getting more story. It's just I don't want you to feel like, hey, you're missing out.
Oh, but it's not that I'm missing out. It's just that I am desperate for something new to do in Anthem.
Yep.
And I think all of us are in that boat, whether you have access to the PTS or you do not. I mean, I want story missions. I need a progression system. I need a stat page. Like, these are all things that I think we all want, but and it sucks that we don't know exactly when that stuff is going to come. All we have are guesses based on, I don't know, like August sounds like a good time, because if it goes into September, man, that's September's a long time.
That's the other problem. Well, it's not just that it's a long time, it's that all the other AAA games are starting in September, October, November. I mean, all the big games, are starting in September. So that's also another thing they're up against is, okay, if we don't get it out before September, then our player base is going to get, it's Destiny, it's Gears of War 5.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, Call of Duty in October.
But I'm talking
summer is pretty much
a
summer is basically a game drought in terms of like the big hits. And for a lot of people, like, you got kids, you got teenagers, and then you got other people that for whatever reason have the summers off. That's a time that a lot of people take time off. It's the time when a lot of people are on vacation, or they have a lot of free time to do it. And I like to release something that is a timed event, especially if you release it so late that it now opens in the same window as other games that if you are a hardcore gamer and you have interest other than Anthem, you're basically going to have no time to enjoy this timed event. Like if it releases in August, like the Cataclysm content, like if it starts up later end of July and we get the Cataclysm stuff in August, I'm going to have a week where I can play the Cataclysm and really, try to get the best score I can, try to get the loot I can. After that, though, I'm basically just going to have the weekends and maybe a couple of hours or maybe an hour at best every night after school, assuming that
you're gonna
I've
be
got all
back
my
to
work
like
done.
people who work full-time jobs year round type of
Wow.
stuff. I mean, I know you want to do stuff during the
Devin and I
summer.
are not showing any sympathy.
I mean, we're not showing you any sympathy because teachers, yes, they don't work during the summers, and you guys plan your schedules to do different things in the summertime. But a lot of other people also work, 40 hours plus every week on a regular basis, and like for me, I work 40 plus hours every week, and the time I have to play games is whenever my kids go to bed and I don't have something else to do, and so I mean, I understand you're frustrated and you want to be able to play, and this is the time you have to play. But at the same time, there's also a lot of people that it doesn't affect.
Oh,
But really, the
There
time.
are other people in similar boats.
Yes, there are. There's
And-
people in both
and-
sides. So, but I mean, it sucks all around. I'm sure they're not like, hey, let's not put this out to screw people over. They're
No, no,
obviously
no.
working on it, and
Screw you, teachers.
it's tough because we have expectations because they have called it a live service game, right? And so
Exactly.
if this wasn't, I mean, we talked about this a couple episodes. If it wasn't live service, this wouldn't be a problem. But because they came out with it as live service, obviously they had a lot of issues. And so we just keep coming back around to that. Hey, it's a live service. We expect more out of it. They expect more themselves, and they're working on it. I think we all understand that. We're all kind of frustrated. We want to progress. We want to continue the story. We want to have it so it matters. I mean, I'm going to play all the stuff that I'm playing in the PTS. But like Steven said, you play it, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't count for anything. Is it fun? Sure. Does the game crash every time I play it? At least once per play session, yes.
Every time.
Every time. I was
Every
playing
time.
2 days ago. It crashed at least once or twice an hour with the new update from different things. So, I mean, it's obviously not ready in the current state. There's issues and bugs and things, and that's what the PTS is for. I would say, blame the console manufacturers for not being able to play on console because they require so much time and they expect so many things because they don't want you to, to mess up your console because then they have a whole other issue on their hands. So that's another reason why the PTS, there's not many technical tests unless they're perfect and okay, we know this is exactly what happens. There are specifics, so.
Yeah,
I just feel that somebody should have been able to anticipate this
Well,
potentially.
There's a lot of things a lot of people should have been able to anticipate.
Like the whole thing is that like if they knew that if they had any kind of even just ballpark estimate of the timetable, and if they have all hands on deck for getting the Cataclysm content out, it just the fact that there hasn't really been any even just slightly substantial for everybody else on console to nibble on, even in the interim, at any point in this interim, to just nibble on. Like, at least to me, it comes across as just probably a big lack of foresight here, because if the people who are on the game, they like the game, they like playing the game, they want to play the game, and right now they have the same amount of stuff to do that they had 2 months ago.
Yeah, but I mean, if they put out a nibble though, JD, is it just like, hey, this is all that we're getting on these updates? Would that hurt them more, or would it be like,
I mean,
thanks for giving us something?
If they spaced it out right, maybe okay, if it takes us about a month or two to get this content out, if it takes us that long because like I said, they don't need to have a very accurate, but they could have had contingencies planned or maybe something worked out.
Well, I mean, I think
But-
they had contingencies, but everything kind of got blown up when all the issues that they didn't anticipate or expect to happen happened. And I mean, we can keep talking about this, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, we all want the game to be a success. We all want it to have new content so people can play it and they can enjoy it. And but I think we've kind of beat this topic to death for this episode, and we should probably move on to the next topic, or this is going to be a
All
really
right,
long
Devin.
podcast.
What have you been doing in the PTS? Tell us all the things that we've been testing for all the console players.
So, I mean, I've been playing a lot of the Cataclysm, some of the things. So I wrote down some information, right? So I'm trying to figure out in the Cataclysm what I wrote this down. I got notes here. What actually
Hit us with
I'm
it.
trying to figure out what I wrote down. I wrote stuff
give
down.
so you get crystals, right? The whole point, one of the points is that the new economy with crystals to be able to buy your war chest and to be able to get the gear, and those are kind of really coming to effect within the last 2 updates because those are really hitting hard in the PTS, and they're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And so I'm trying to figure out how they calculate how many crystals you should get. And so I'm going to give you 3 different Cataclysm sessions with their crystal information and kind of what I did and what we did and the amount that I got. So the first one I have here is from Grandmaster 1 when we played the other day. We ended up with around 2.4 million points for this session, which got us into like 14th place or whatever on the leaderboards.
Pretty good.
So we ended up with about 10,000 crystals from that play session. A little bit under. I don't know the exact number, but I'm kind of rounding it out the number here just because I didn't write it down at the time.
We'll make math easy.
Yeah.
Well, and that doesn't take into account the number of crystals you already had, right?
Yeah, no. So I'm just.
So yeah, so
Keep
I
going
think
off of-
because I know what session you're talking about. I think it ended up being either like 850 plus to 9,000. I don't think it was.
It was
I
over
don't think it was
9,500
close
on
to
mine.
10. Well, okay, go ahead.
But I'm just kind of rounding this out. I mean, we don't have the exact number, but so I mean, this is within a leeway, of less than I would say 5% off on each direction, right? So
Right.
So in that one, we got I'm just saying 10,000 crystals. We had 4 players. Grandmaster 1. We did 7 events, and because we didn't complete all the events, right?
No, the first one we did all
On
of
that
them.
one we didn't.
Well, we
Did we
played
do all that?
multiples. The second
Okay,
one.
anyway,
So I got 7 events. I have 2 echo plates, unknown amounts of crystals that we destroyed. I know we did 4 pressure plates, and I don't know the amount of extra orbs. But basically, it worked out to being around every 240 points, we got 1 crystal for that play session, right? So
Okay.
then I played by myself yesterday. I did it on hard. I was just like, okay, I'm going to go through, see what I get. I did 4 events, 1 echo plate, 3 crystals I destroyed. I did 2 pressure plates, and I don't know how many extra orbs I collected. I got a score of 500,000. I got 500 crystals for that play session, and that was it.
that was it.
That was it. So that equated to, for every 1,000 points, I got 1 crystal. So that's where I was like, this math does not add up at all on where the stuff comes from. So I did another one today earlier of Grandmaster 1 by myself. Nobody else joined. I completed 0 events, did 1 echo plate, didn't destroy any crystals. I did 1 pressure plate, 2 relic circles, which are new things I've just found the other day, and 1 time relic. These are all secrets and stuff that are there for you to find. I got like 72,000 points, and I got 70 crystals. So again, that came out to 1 crystal per 1,000 points. So I don't know what their multiplier is, what causes. I mean, because the 500,000 points was, 1/5 of that, and I should have gotten. If it was the same equation, I should have gotten over 2,000 crystals from that PlayStation on hard, where I scored over 500,000 points. And I didn't. I got less than 500 technically on that one. I was like, "What the crap is this?" And I just rounded it up to 500, just for simple math. So I don't know what is causing to get so many crystals, because like I said, I mean I completed events, I did all these other things. I
I'm guessing
kill
it
the
would have to
boss.
be the difficulty modifier.
But I mean, going from hard to Grandmaster 1, like that's a huge modifier. And then again, my UI is bugged. I have the UI bug currently in this update where the modifier does not go above 2. So I don't know what it was at when I finished hard. I mean, I completed the 4 events and I killed Vara, so I'm not sure.
Interesting.
But so that was really strange to me, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. And I haven't found any documentation on them saying what determines how many crystals you get. But basically, I mean, right now, I mean, it's not worth playing. I don't know.
It's not worth playing alone.
Yeah, it's not worth playing alone, and unless you're exploring and trying to find stuff like. I mean, that was basically what I was doing today. When I was doing the Grandmaster 1 by myself, I was just exploring. Didn't want to complete any events. I was like, well, I'll explore, see what else I can find, and just kind of kill enemies, and so.
And it's very. I mean, they've told us that this content is 4-player content. You're not supposed to go in alone. So I wonder if there actually is like a player, because you were alone.
I was alone for both the last 2 sessions. I was by myself.
So I wonder if that also takes into account. Yeah. So I wonder if we jump in, we'll go on hard, roll with 3 people, and see if that changes at all, just to kind of test that. Because I think you're right. I think this is one of those things that people are going to try to find out is, okay, how do I get the most amount of crystals in the quickest amount of time so I can get the gear?
Mm-hmm. Because it is a new economy, and so it's like if it's not set in stone how that is. I mean, we know that. The only thing that set in stone is you have to play the Cataclysm to really get a good amount of crystals. Because free play and Shaper Storms don't really give you. I mean, they'll give you 5 crystal shards, when you destroy a set of crystals, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this morning I did a world event, free play world event, and it was one of the crystal events. I actually, after I completed that specific crystal event, I was rewarded with 200 shards.
Okay.
From just completing that event. It didn't, for some reason, it didn't actually calculate and go into my shard pool. So I'm guessing there's some issue with that still.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a pop-up saying that I did get 200 shards, and every time one of those crystal plates, if you're running out in free play, just like lightning would strike every now and then, there's little plates of crystals that would pop up and would explode. Every time I destroyed one of those or hit one of those crystals, I also got a shard. So there's other ways to get those. I mean, I don't think.
But I mean, they only gave you 5 though, right? So.
Yeah, I think in the free play thing.
Yeah, the large ones only give you 5, and the small ones only give you 5. So that, I think, doesn't add up. The large ones should definitely give you more than 5. And then like the Shaper Storm events that you're waiting 20 minutes to go into. I did one again by myself 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? Yesterday. Because we were talking on the Discord about, okay, how many crystals do you get from doing one of those events? Because that's supposed to be a Cataclysm event, in free play. And I got 15 because I got 5 from each chest that I opened. And I was doing a Grandmaster 1 and got complete garbage, just blues from each chest, blues and materials, and 15 total crystals from doing a Cataclysm event in free play, which I don't think is, that's definitely not rewarding enough. To be a Cataclysm event, it should definitely give you way more crystals than 5 per chest.
Well, especially because it is a timed event.
Yeah, it's a timed event. There's huge crystals you have to destroy.
Right, and the only way to be able to get those level 80 items is through the war chest, and the only way to get those is to spend shards. So if you're not getting those at a decent clip based on the time that you're playing, and this is something that Anthem has had problems with in the past, respecting players' time to the rewards that they're given. So if they don't get this right, I think there's going to be pretty big issues, because this is the point of the Cataclysm, is the new gear, the new weapons. That's the point of it, is to level up past what we could in the normal game. So if they're not giving us those rewards, there's going to be issues. I mean, this is the one thing that'll probably be like, nope, people aren't going to come back if that ratio, like time spent to rewards received, if it's not worth it to the player, then that's a huge issue to me personally.
Yeah, I mean, the one we did where we got close to 10,000 crystals was, I think, rewarding, but also at the same time it was doing weapons, so you can get weapons every time. But when you're doing gear or melee and you get something for another javelin type, The price seems too steep at the cost because
The current,
because over 50% of the stuff I've gotten, because I'm only playing on the Interceptor, so over 50% of the melee and the gear that I'm getting is for different javelins. And so their current weighting is not, to me, correct. And again, the same with the Shaper Storms. I still have only come across one type of creature as the end boss, even though that should not be the case. Hopefully they have more when the game comes out, because it's gonna get really boring if you only fight the same boss every single time. Granted, it's a new boss and it's cool the first couple times, but when you do 3 or 4 of those a night and it's just all the exact same stuff every time, and they're in different locations, it doesn't make sense to me to have the same stuff.
And that boss is also available to defeat in the Cataclysm, so it's not like it's unique to go there. And the other part of that is, it's like, okay, if that Cataclysm event in free play has to be weighted against the Cataclysm itself in terms of rewards.
Yep.
Because if the best way to get rewards is by going through the Cataclysm and getting shards, what incentive do players have to actually go into free play and do that event?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there has to be something pulling players to both of those, and it can't just be
daily.
I mean, it can't just be
Gotta
shards.
get them materials.
Right, and the dailies won't do it because coin materials. I mean, maybe if there's a daily, like, hey, earn 1,000 shards, or earn, because they're in the Cataclysm. There's minor shards, and are they called greater shards, or are they just?
They're
called
crystals.
Shards? They're called
shards. Are
sorry, crystals. So no, shards are what we buy for.
Yeah, shards
for
are
the
what you
cosmetics.
buy, and the crystals are what you earn in the Cataclysm.
So there's a major crystal and a minor crystal. So a major crystal, you have to currently, the way it stands in the cosmetics in the seasonal store, you have to buy something with 1 major crystal and then 200 minor crystals in order to convert.
And that's for the
minor
weapons.
crystals into a major crystal.
The gear and
1,000
other stuff
minor crystals.
is a little less. It's like 1 major and 100 minor.
But in order to do that, you have to have a major crystal and minor crystal. So unless that's the way you get a minor crystal is by completing, or a major crystal is by completing these events, I can see that as incentive to go out and do those, which would be fine, because then you're not, spending those minor shards in order to convert to a bigger one. But there has to be a balance, and there has to be incentive for players to do those things. And hopefully they can get this right, because currently in the main game, there's no incentive to do anything unless you're chasing coin. Other than that's the only incentive that there is currently in the game, unfortunately, and it shouldn't be that way. So
I mean, so there's definitely issues with the PTS that they still need to work out.
So should we talk about inversions? Because this is something that they released, kind of like a map of, hey, we're going to test for about a week. We're going to change up inversions. We're going to change up they're called war chests.
Yep.
They're going to change up what's available in the seasonal store. So real quick, these are some of the, I don't want to say multiply. What do they call them? They're in the inversions that change up how you want to play. They don't really increase like their multiplier that you're going into
increase. So
I mean, they should. I mean,
in our opinion, they should, but they don't.
But they don't. Okay. So here are the inversions that you can have on any given day while you're doing the Cataclysm. So this one is called On the Edge. At low armor, damage dealt increases. So you kind of want to be playing, I don't know if you want to be up and close, but the lower your armor is, the more damage that you're going to be doing. So you can, leverage that to get higher scores. The soldier's reward is killing an enemy restores a small amount of shields. There's precision operator, snipers, and I can't say precision. There you go. The shooty rifles do increased damage. So this is actually one that, this is kind of like a big bonus. We'd have to go in and do some math and see exactly what percentage that's increasing, if it's like a 5% increase or 10% increase. But I haven't done the math on that to verify. Then we have immunity pack. Ammo pickups grant brief immunity to damage, which sounds really good. Broken magazine. Guns have no spare ammo. Increased ammo drops. This one is really frustrating for Storm, because Storm spends a lot of time in the air. So you lose your shield when you go down and pick up that ammo. So maybe this is just one of those days where you don't play the Storm, I guess. Running on empty. Emptying your... They wrote clip again here. It makes me so mad. So emptying your magazine was a 100% damage buff for 20 seconds, which was a pretty significant damage buff for that amount of time. Then we have broken magazine. Guns have no spare ammo. Increase. Oh,
It's double.
Do
They
they have-
did 2 days in a row.
they
It's the
doubled
exact
those
same.
2 days in a row. Okay, from the skies, you can hover longer. Yay! Air support. Killing an enemy from above gives a stacking buff to 5, up to 5 for 10% increased damage per stacks on the ground. So right there, that has to be the storm's dream to run the storm there. So they did those 2 days in a row. Let's see, lightning rod, close range kills, chain lightning, which are pretty cool. Close encounters, shotguns, SMGs do 50% more damage. We have SMGs in this game.
It was interesting. So they didn't. Well, yeah, so one of the earlier inversions that they did was the last bullet in your magazine did increase damage. We didn't have that on here. Any of these? I didn't see. it in any of them.
Yeah. So
but
emptying your magazine gives 100% damage buff for 20 seconds.
was that the one? Because it was like specific, like your last your last round in your magazine was the one that did.
I don't
more
think
damage.
so.
Because that was the one when
Maybe
it was like it was a week and a half ago or so. It was before July. But anyways,
Maybe.
because that one was doing like a crazy amount of increased damage where the sniper was doing like 83,000 normally on a crit hit, and it was going over 530,000 per crit hit.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good percentage.
So
Take the snipers on those days, kids. So then they have Soldier's Reward. Killing an enemy restores a small amount of shields. And Precision Operator. Snipers and precision rifles do increased damage. Ammo pick. And then Immunity Pack. Ammo pickups grant brief immunity to damage. So these are all pretty fun to play around. The times that we were going in and doing our testing, I don't think we paid too much attention to the inversions.
Nope.
Just because we were going around not really like
No.
focusing on getting a high score.
Mhm.
But I mean, these will really change up your builds if you are pushing for those leaderboards. I mean,
it's
there's
not
a
going to
lot of
affect the
people that-
leaderboard though. I mean, it'll help you kill
No,
things,
I
I
mean,
guess,
it
a
could.
little bit. But I mean,
But we don't know how that translates to score yet because the inversions don't add multipliers.
the
I don't
only
know
way
if
it
they
translates is that
kill
you can
things
kill other
faster.
things faster if you're using that, and that's about it. But
Yeah, I mean that's gonna change your score if you're able
Well-
to kill things faster because the time remaining gets added to your score also.
But then I also noticed
Does
the
it?
orbs that drop. You get points for orbs, right? So then killing more enemies translates to more orbs, so more like actual points to the thing again. So maybe that's where that all comes in, but it still doesn't seem like it's
it's a
like that
confusing
big
way
payoff.
of adding to your score.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying add 0.5%,
Yeah, adding
increase
an actual
to your
multiplier.
score.
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting. JD, does any of this sound interesting to you?
You fell asleep.
He's on mute over there, JD. Just so you know.
All right. JD is on me. I can't see his face.
He'll fix
I,
himself.
I
There you
can't.
go.
I can't really contribute to this. You know,
Why-
No,
why
but
ask,
does it sound
interesting to you?
interesting? Is it things that you wanted?
I mean, the being able to hover longer, that sounds fun. I mean, these are all things that sound great to me, but you know,
Can't play it.
I can't play it.
Yeah, we told you to get on PC, JD.
It's true we did. All right, so let's talk about the weapons. So we put out a couple of videos on our Twitter feed, a couple of the weapons that we got for the last time we played in the PTS, and it sounds like a lot of people are pretty excited to actually see something new. Like these tweets kind of blew up for us for a tiny little podcast. They got a lot of hits, and it got a lot of traction, and I guess I want to address something. So I put on a video of the Gravedigger, which is a new pulse accelerator weapon type,
My favorite. I
and
love
it shoots out a it's a beam weapon. It's essentially, I mean, it's very similar to something like cold light. What's it called in Destiny? Cold arc,
Cold heart.
Hard light,
arc dust,
hard
mold.
stone, mole.
Yeah. Anyway,
Giant
it
snake.
shoots out a beam of concentrated energy and it destroys stuff. And in this game, it does it very, very well. It's very overpowered in this game currently. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, yeah, I just stole this from Warframe. Stole this from Destiny." It's like, guys, like, this is
All
not the
things are
first
stolen
time.
from everywhere.
This is not the first time this weapon has been in any game. Like, if you think
Yeah.
Destiny, if Bungie invented like this type of weapon, like, you haven't been playing games. I mean, go back to Quake, go back to games like Heretic, where there's been a beam weapon in almost any game that you've ever played. So people saying, "Oh, you're just going to steal this." It's like, I don't care if they stole every weapon. Like, put every weapon from every game into this game. Give me the Farsight from Perfect Dark. I don't care.
Yeah.
The more weapons
like-
that we have in this game, the more excited we should all be. I don't care if they like, oh, look, you stole a bullet weapon from this other game that has a bullet weapon. Like, what kind of comment is that? That makes no sense to me to be like, oh, you stole this. It's like, whatever, dude. Like, we stole everything from James Bond and Star Trek. So
Those are probably the same
off my
people who are
lawn, I
like,
guess?
you need to put this from Destiny into Anthem, but then complain when they put things from other games into it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like
Are
Julia
these
says, it's like the Spartan laser. You know what? If we have a Spartan laser in Anthem, let's get all the Spartan lasers into Anthem. I don't care. It's like, let's just use everything that we can. I mean, the weapons look different. They actually have personality now.
They look
Their
good.
3D models are interesting.
Yeah.
Like the blade slingers that we have, they look like something that we stole off the Scar. They're colored interesting. Like, you can look at one and say, oh, okay, I know that that's the Gravedigger because it looks way different from the other things. Now, granted, there's still 3 models that have different colors on them, but I think even just giving them new 3D models that stand out from everything else makes a huge difference currently. So we're not there to be like, hey, that's unique and I can recognize that silhouette from afar, but we're making steps. So when we start making steps like this, like, you know what? I'm going to applaud them for making these steps. And a lot of people would be like, oh, you're applauding them for doing something they should have done in the past. It's like, F that noise.
Echo
Okay?
chamber of
like-
positivity. Honestly.
We're making progress to something that we want. So to like be negative about that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, yeah, you know what? Destiny just put a revolver in their game. Psh, that revolver is from the Old West. I can't believe they stole that. Whatever, people. Anyway, Anthem podcast. I'm gonna get off this soapbox on top of a horse that I'm standing on. A couple of the weapons, and JD, you've been able to see these, so you can comment on these also.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have these Voltcaster weapons now. And this one is called the Lightning Rod, which I had a lot of fun with. It actually shoots a little pulse ball, hits a target, so you can put this anywhere, and then it calls down a lightning strike on that area. And then this weapon is also a primer, so this works really well with the storm that I was running, because you can shoot this, prime it out, and then you know what? I'll just cast another lightning bolt from my right bumper ability, and I'll detonate that. So you get combos for days, right? Then we got flash fire, and then that fires lightning that's like chain lightning, so it jumps from a bunch of enemies. So when you're in, what are they called? When you're in strongholds, like mainly, what's the stronghold? It's called what's the Scar one called? Swarm, Mine, Tyrant, Scarface. So when
Temple of the
Scar? So when you're running Scarface and you're in those really tight corridors and there's Scar everywhere, I mean, light this thing up. Currently, it doesn't do a ton of damage, but this is something that they're still working on. So these are cool abilities that they're adding onto these weapons that we've been asking for. So if I get excited about it, it's like, well, they're doing what we asked them to do. So we should say, hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Jar's Wrath is in the game. That one's pretty cool. Gravedigger is a really cool weapon that just shoots out this giant pulse of energy, and like the visual effects on these look really, really cool. It's not just the boring, hey, we're shooting bullets, because previously that's all we had. We had boring shooting bullets, and now we don't. So I'm excited about that.
Projectile
Mike, your favorite weapon that you've been using?
I have been using Rip Slinger. It's not called Rip Slinger. What's it called?
Ritz's Ripper?
No, it's the legendary version of that one.
I think it's called
shoot.
the same thing, isn't it?
It's not. It's not. Oh, it's called. I think it might be called Rip Slinger. To believe it or not. Rip.
I believe you.
Saw,
Razor wing.
Razor
Rainmaker?
back.
Mole, Lusk.
Wooden javelin?
Hair.
Is that what
Wooden.
it's called?
Gary Gooney.
JD, which one did you say? Razor. Not
Razor
Razorback.
wing. Razor wing.
Razor Wing sounds right. It's Razor Wing. It's
Yeah,
legendary. It's awesome. It shoots a circular saw blade, and it has a rebound effect. And so, if you do it right, you can hit 3 enemies at once, and it deals like 20.
That is pretty fun to use.
It's so much fun.
A bouncing
it's
heavy
cool.
blade.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the
Yeah,
description says.
it's definitely pretty cool. It's definitely pretty
Wow.
cool, and I like it a lot. And so that's the one I'm using. I got that one the first night that we did the new Cataclysm. Out of 7 war chests I got, that's the one awesome weapon that I got.
I haven't got any legendaries out of the war chest. That's the one place I can't get legendaries, JD, is out of the war chest. So just so everyone knows, I can't get any legendaries there apparently.
I've actually gotten a lot of legendaries in the last week.
It happens.
it.
I hope
I've doubled my
that one
count.
thing that gets changed in the war chest is the war chest opening animation. Because I think that needs to be changed. I think we need to see like an actual box open. Because right now it's just holding a button and a screen and a status bar filling up, and then it's like, oh, here's your weapon. So
I kind of think that they should change that at the end mission screen also, because right now it's just like you said, it's the icon, it opens, here you go. I mean, I would love to have it more like Apex, more like Overwatch, to actually get excited about a box opening.
Box opening.
Because currently, right now, it's very boring just to watch what you're gonna get.
I mean, it's not even a chest, for a war chest. It's a gear symbol.
Yeah,
it's an icon.
And you wouldn't think it would be like satisfying to see a box open, but it is.
No, it is. I mean, they have people that test that stuff that are like, hey, these are the dopamine hits when you hear this noise and when you see this color come out of these things. I mean, there's a reason why they're popular in Overwatch.
Yep.
And the animation is like one of those dopamine hits. So surprise mechanics. Go ahead, JD. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask, is that like something that's just like in the PTS is like a placeholder right now, or
you don't know?
Maybe.
I mean, that's the other thing with PTS. It's like one day this is what it looks like, and the next day it's not. Which is also part of the problem with the PTS. Like when you go in and you're expecting things to be in a specific place, and they're not, you're like, is this a bug or does this move? And that's frustrating. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah,
it is tough to figure it out.
So we're also going to be getting some new support abilities, and I'll run through these really quick. So the Colossus Berserker's Cry, which is the battle cry, is going to additionally increase melee ability so that you're going to be able to hit harder. Their Surging ability, which is their Shield Pulse, additionally regenerates shields through damage while the effect is active. So yay, Colossus, you'll be able to survive longer, I hope. You'll become the tank that we always knew you could be.
We thought you were going to be.
Yeah. So the Interceptor, Slayer's Furor, which is the target beacon, marking a target also marks additional enemies near that target. So when you do this, Devon, they also get they take additional damage, correct?
Yes. And it spreads to more targets faster.
Cool. So Voice of Courage, their rally cry, revives nearby downed allies.
This one works good.
Had this ability.
No. Nope. So all it did was gave increased shield or buffed them basically for a little bit. But this works really good. I haven't used it a lot in the Cataclysm, even though that's my main support ability.
You never bring it back, man. You're never reviving.
The problem is I'm usually off doing like the other parts of the Cataclysm solo, where I'm like, okay, we're splitting up to go complete events because you only have so much time, and so I'm like, okay, go do this or go do that, and then by the time I remember, oh yeah, I have this ability, I'm not really with the group to actually revive people with it. So, I mean, it's cool. I just don't use it currently. I don't know.
Because he hates us.
So the Ranger gets that sounds weird when you say it out loud. Tarsus's last stand. Muster point in addition to
Tarsus.
Well,
last stand of Tarsus.
It's General Tarsus, but then they've got the little apostrophe that makes me say Tarsus's last stand. Muster point in addition to gun damage, all damage is increased. That's a lot of damage to be increased. So that's actually a pretty awesome muster point. I can dig it. Then Vanguard's
how come you're not laying that down, Mike? Where you at?
Because it's not in that game yet.
You probably don't even have it. So a Bulwark point provides temporary charges for ability 1. That's right, Bumper. Plus 200. Wow. That's plus 200 charges for every. Is that for everyone? Because that's a. You can throw that down and we can all walk into it, right?
I think that's just an inscription.
No, this is for the Bulwark point. Provides temporary charges for. Oh, I see what you're saying. So that's not for everyone that walks through the bubble. Then
it should be, because that's the whole point of it, isn't it?
Well, we should try it out. Maybe you should actually get some of this gear for your Ranger. So the Storm.
I'm working on it.
Howling Veil, which is the wind wall, which they buffed a little bit, but still feels pretty much useless. Detonates a combo explosion on expiration, and we'll have to see how this actually works, because it's got to be a pretty large area, I think, to make a pretty big effect. Then they've got Anthem's Grace, which is the quickening field. Additionally, increase gear damage while in the field. So, hey, if we throw down some Muster Point and some Anthem's Grace at the same time, that's increased damage for all the days, I think. That'd be pretty sweet. JD, does any of that sound interesting to you? I'm just kidding. I don't want to hear about it. So one of the cool things that we've also had are a lot of the melee has been updated. And I know most people have been able to play with these because we were given a couple of epics for all the new abilities that we have. So like going over with the Storm, they have a lightning surge now, which is actually a lightning strike, and it's not just the searing strike. And this is actually a primer. And I think every javelin got a primer and a detonator for a melee ability now, which is going to open up a lot of people's like ability to make something different and kind of take advantage of that.
Yeah, they're different builds.
Yeah, so the Storm got a lightning and a fire blast. The Ranger, let's see, your seismic mace doesn't have a elemental charge attached to it, does it?
No, I don't believe it does.
No, I don't think it does. So you do have the Transmuting Volt, which is a legendary melee weapon, gives you a shock mace. I'm guessing the seismic mace must just be kinetic damage.
Well, that's the Storm melees, the Transmuting Bolt.
No, I don't think so.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure that is the Ranger. Yeah, the upgraded shock mace, that's Ranger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the truth. And then let's see. Devon, as the Interceptor, you still have the acid blades that you have, and then I don't know what your other one is. The
other one is just a plain melee. It increases the damage, but so my primer has the same amount of damage, but gives you plus 20% acid or 20 acid or whatever. And so like right now I have that one on, so I'm always priming, but it's strange. It's because I can still detonate with my melee. So it's weird how that works sometimes. And so I'm also thinking that's why Jar's Wrath isn't working properly for me. Like when we tested it the other day, it should work really good because it's a primer, and if you have your detonator as interceptor, like that should be your go-to weapon because it just electrocutes so many people around you, and you can just hit them and it explodes them all with electricity. But it's not working for me right now, obviously, because I have a primer melee on, so I'll have to try that later. Play.
Explode all the things. And this, JD, will excite you because the Colossus has something called Meteor Smash now. So when you attack the ground, it cracks the earth, igniting flames around your feet that burn nearby enemies. So you're going to be burninating all the things.
I was actually more excited for Earthshaker, actually, because it actually gives you, like if you already run a pretty fire-heavy build, like I do, like Rubidium's Furnace, and then I forget the name of the flamethrower, or like the voltaic dome, anything like that that's pretty like close range. Having a detonating melee attack that can really not only just detonate people in your general vicinity, but also reach out a bit, and like because it says, what is it? Heavy glove that can be smashed into the ground, causing damage in a large area, sends out a shockwave that damages enemies in front of you. Like that sounds awesome to me. I'm hoping that it does that on top of just the general like seismic slam, but that sounds more my speed because you already got enough things that can light stuff on fire as a Colossus.
Fine, JD. Don't be excited about the thing I was excited for you to be excited about. It's fine. Whatever. Don't even worry about it. So there's a lot of additions that they're coming out with. I think in total there's what? I don't even have a number of how many new items there are going to be, but there's quite a few new items to be gaining over the 6 weeks that we're going to have. Hopefully we'll be seeing some cosmetic things coming up soon that we can earn. Hopefully we have some earnable cosmetics and not just random cosmetics we're going to have to go through a box for. But yeah, I think like overall with the new story missions that we're getting, the new Cataclysm event with the leaderboards, I know a lot of people aren't excited for the leaderboards. I kind of am. I mean, I'm excited to jump in there and see if we can at least post on there. I don't know how often they're going to reset those. I'm guessing they'll probably reset them each time they reset the Cataclysm themselves, because they can turn on and off different areas that you can go to. So I'm guessing they'll, and I don't know if they're gonna like
So-
keep those for
Steve,
like future
I did
stuff.
see a countdown on the leaderboard. It goes for 6 days, and then I think it resets. So I think it goes for a week.
Okay, so we'll have 6
again-
different resets on that leaderboard. Then I wonder if they're gonna save those. Like, hey, these are the top people for week 1. These are the top people for week 2. I mean, if we can at least crack the top 100, I think that's a pretty good run. So
Yeah.
we'll try to do that. We'll do it on easy. We'll crack the top 100 on easy. But so I think that, I mean, we talked a lot about what the Cataclysm is, what it's going to bring, things to look forward to. There's still a lot of changes that are coming up that we have not heard about. There's still some story and some cinematic stuff that they're working on that we haven't seen. So there's still stuff to look forward to if you've participated in the PTS. And if you are participating in the PTS, like, you know, give that feedback. Let's make this game better for all the PlayStation, Xbox owners. So that, oh, sorry, my dog scared me. So that when they do get it, I mean, it'll be in a place where it's like, hey, this thing's ready to go. Excited about all the new stuff, because I want all you console players to be able to play this stuff as soon as possible also. So don't feel like we don't care that you don't have access to this stuff. But so real quick, unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on the PTS, Mike or Devon?
Nope.
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
All right, JD, will you give us an update on your quest for the gold metal texture?
JD had to step away. You can't see that because you don't have the screens up, but he had to step away currently.
Well, that just makes this whole thing awkward then, Devon. Mike, do you have any dad jokes that you can tell us while we wait?
I have lots of dad jokes, but I'm gonna skip those because I'm not at that point yet. But I'm just saying, I just want to say that it's fun to play the PTS, and there might not be a whole lot of end game with it, but it's still fun to do. It's still fun to jump in with people and push those leaderboards. I didn't think leaderboards were gonna be fun until I saw my name on one, and then I thought, oh man, look, there's my name. I can kind of push this higher and, you know, kind of retool stuff and kind of see how things are going. So it's fun
Yeah,
to
'cause I mean,
things that I didn't think that I would like. I'm like, oh, cool. I can see my name. I kind of like that.
and currently, like the builds that we've been running, like none of us have been optimizing our javelins.
Nothing is
It's just kind of
optimized.
like,
This
it's
is
like whatever
what I got.
legendary you have, equip it and go and see what you can get, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't anyways. I mean, I haven't even painted my storm, but I mean,
Right.
there is a lot of potential, and there's potential for the future. Like when this goes away and they start retooling it, working on it, fixing things for like the next time it comes out. I mean, it can only get better. Well, that's not true. They could totally screw it up and make it like the worst thing ever. So I shouldn't say that. But I mean, there's potential for it to increase and become better each time that it is released, because you know, this isn't the only content we're going to get in the future. Hopefully they're working on whatever is next past this, because if this is coming out soon, there's probably a team of people thinking up, okay, what do we do next? What stories do we tell, and where do we want to go? What new javelins do we want to put into players' hands? Because I think that's the next logical step after Cataclysm, I hope.
Perhaps
All right,
a wooden
JD.
javelin.
JD, I would like for you to give us an update. Thank you, Julius, for letting me know that he is back. Give us an update on your quest for gold here.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I've had to stay home quite a bit because I am highly contagious. But I've been playing Anthem every chance I get, either Anthem or Minecraft or something else. But I have been slowly, really hitting the pavement on this going for gold thing. As of today, I'm a little bit over 25,000 out of 150,000 standing. I think it breaks down to like 8,000 something for each of the factions. My first goal was to like get my lowest standing one, which was the Freelancer one. I was a little annoyed by that because I found out that like I think 2 of the strongholds give reputation for the Sentinels and the Arcanists or something like that, and one of them, like 1 or 2 of them, gives them for the Arcanists, but only one, and that's the Heart of Rage, actually just bumps up the Freelancer ranking, which I find that a little bit odd. But yeah, to give you guys an idea of how far that was, when we recorded episode 92, I was at 13,000 or 14,000, give or take. And yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Legendary missions can't really be repeated in my experience. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. And what I've been doing is I've been running random strongholds left and right at GM1, and I seem to earn coin at a similar rate to the amount of standing that I've gotten. So like I've gotten about 11,000 standing in total, and I've gotten maybe about like 15,000 coin. Since then, I started at like 37, and now I'm at like 52 or 53,000 coin. So, which I think the math on that checks out.
I don't know. I don't think any of us are going to check, so you could probably say anything. Would you be like, sure?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm trying to find ways to make this easier but it really seems like just grinding out strongholds is the way to do it.
But sounds like the most boring thing that quest could possibly be.
Yeah, it's just hitting the same 4 strongholds, and honestly, Tyrant Mine remains my favorite, especially now because it comes up the least in my experience of like random strongholds. It's a lot of Sunken Cell, a lot of Heart of Rage, and then Temple of the Scar is probably, I think, Sunken Cell and Temple of the Scar are probably the two most popular that come up or that I can find matchmaking for. So,
well, very cool, JD. I'm excited to hear the conclusion of your quest for gold here. Hopefully, it happens soon.
Midway through next year.
Still quite a ways to go. I mean, maybe with the Cataclysm, we'll get some reputation gains from doing that. I don't know what reputation they would give us, but it'd be nice if at each completion of the Cataclysm, we got rep for that also. But, well, I think Freelancers, host, dog over there, young child that's still awake, I think we're going to end episode 94 because I think we talked to PTS to death. We talked about, hey, when console players are going to actually be going to get something so they can, start enjoying this game again. But I think we'll wrap up the show on there. But actually, first, I would like to say that, thank you to all of the patrons we have of the show. Like, your contributions and your support means a lot to us. We really, really, really appreciate it. And I don't know what else we could say other than you guys are all awesome. You gals are all awesome. If you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/freelancercodex. The show's always going to be free, so don't worry about it ever going behind any type of paywall. But if you want to support us, you can do that over at patreon.com/freelancercodex. So until next time, there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon. We'll see you on the other side.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or through email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. Join the Discord through the link provided at freelancercodex.com. Our show will always be free, but if you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Steven Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.